Hi, and welcome to the Civic Exchange, our very first episode where policy meets community, the voice of Waterford drives progress and civic engagement. I'm one of your hosts, Joseph Williams, running for Waterford trustee, and to my right is Elizabeth, Robin, and Johnathon, and I'll have each of them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth McGregor. I'm running for school board for the Waterford School District.
I'm Robin McGregor. I'm running for Waterford trustee.
And I'm Johnathon Wertheimer, running for Waterford Township Clerk.
All right, what are we going to talk about today, guys?
Voting. Let's vote.
It's elections and voting. You know, we have, you may have heard, there's an election right around the corner on November 5th. Kind of a big one in the United States.
You know, I actually had somebody the other day who was like, hold on, we have another one coming.
We do a lot of elections. Sometimes it gets a little overwhelming for people. But definitely mark your calendars, Tuesday, November 5th. But also, we have early voting now.
Yes.
And that is going to be October 26th through November 3rd. So if you haven't done early voting before, which most of us haven't, I actually got to do early voting in the primary. I was so excited. I went down to the county early voting site. We have two sites in Waterford for early voting. We have our township library, which is for Waterford residents. And then we have Waterford Oaks, which is for anyone in Oakland County who wants to vote early. And I went down to Waterford Oaks, and I was like, okay, we're going to get out there. And I was like a half an hour early for it. So I sat outside alone on this bench. Well, but first, the doors were unlocked. So I go in there, and the poll workers were like fiddling with the tape that's in the tabulator machine.
Uh-huh.
And I've worked elections before, so I'm like, okay, that's my first clue. And then I look over at the other table, and the ladies behind the table are like chatting with each other, like figuring out the ballots, because now they print the ballot for you at the countywide site because they don't know where you live. And so they're chatting, and I'm just like, I'm getting the general vibe that I am not supposed to be in here right now. And eventually one of them comes up to me, and they're like, hey, can we help you? And I'm like, well, I would like to vote. And they're like, we appreciate your enthusiasm. Give us another 20 minutes or so. So I went outside, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait in this huge line of voters for people who are also election nerds getting ready to vote. And I'm just twiddling my thumbs. I was the only person on that bench for the entire time I was there. About one or two people did end up coming in. But yeah, we have an early countywide voting site for anyone who wants to go. Very excited for that. Yeah, and we have no excuse absentee voting as well. Mm-hmm. Absentee vote by mail, same thing, potato, potato. There are some states, Michigan's not one of them though, where it's only voting by mail, so that's sometimes where the difference can come in for people. Yes. But the fun thing with early voting and election day now is if you did get that absentee ballot, you can actually take it with you to early voting and process it yourself or your precinct on election day. I know I used to get really paranoid because of the job that I do for my day job.
What is it again?
I work as the chief of staff for State Rep Brenda Carter. So election day is usually quite busy for us. But I would always have to vote absentee because I just wasn't going to be around where my precinct was or whatever. And I would always be so paranoid that, like, maybe when I was going down that ballot, I, like, ticked the wrong box on accident because these machines are incredibly sensitive.
Yeah.
And so literally I was talking back in the day with the clerk and the deputy clerk over in Auburn Hills, and they were testing their ballot machines because these machines are tested before elections, you know, to make sure everything works. And they kept getting an error message coming back from one of their test ballots. And they're like, what is wrong with this test ballot? Well, this particular test ballot, the way they were supposed to test it was to, like, just randomly scratch all over it with a pen. Just everywhere, just little marks all over the darn thing. Well, when they were making their little marks, the tiniest little nick ended up inside one of the voting boxes, one of the things. And so it kept reading as an incorrect vote when they were trying to test the ballot. And they're like, what's going on? So that's how sensitive these machines are. But you still want to make sure to color in your bubble or your square the entire way. But I say that to say, if you're at your coffee table at your house and you have vote for not more than 4, for example, like they do with township trustee. And you're going down that ballot going, I want to vote for this person. I don't want to vote for this person, but I want to vote for this person, this person. If you push that pen in the square, there's a chance, not a guarantee, but a chance that the machine will count that as an overvote, as another vote where, so you voted for 5 instead of 4. But if you take that to your early voting site or to your precinct on election day and you put it in the machine itself, the machine will tell you that.
Right.
Whereas if you just turn in that ballot, they have to process it as is, and so you miss out on those votes, which is really important.
Does that mean you lose all of the votes that you put in, or only in that section that you messed up?
Only in that overvote section.
Okay.
Now, if this were a primary election, which it's not, we see a ton of spoiled ballots every primary, because you have to, if you choose to vote in a partisan section, which you don't have to do in a primary, but if you choose to vote in one of the partisan sections, you can only vote in one. And the reason we see so many spoiled ballots is because people will be like, I like these Democratic candidates, but I want this Republican candidate. And it's like, no, you can't do that in a primary. In a general, you can, which we're going into in November, but that's a little on the primaries, spoiled ballots.
Well, and you know the great thing about that? So actually in the primary, I took my ballot and spoiled it at the early voting location because I was kind of going back and forth between 2 of the candidates and one of the races. And I'm like, okay, how do I want to do this? And I filled it in, and then I learned some more information. I'm like, no, I'm gonna vote this other person, right? And then, so I take my ballot in. They get rid of it. They go through a full process though, because they have to mark it as you've turned in that ballot. They track the whole thing, so they know that you're not putting in multiple ballots or anything like that. And then they spoil the ballot. And then they create a new one for you. And then you go vote it. And then for me, that made me feel better because I knew like I wasn't going to have to worry about it. I didn't, like if I had smudge, because I love those gel pens. Right?
I do too. They write so smoothly.
Right, exactly. Yes. So yeah, I didn't have to worry about any of that. So I could just take it. I knew it went through, and it was like the sense of relief.
It's a peace of mind thing.
Yeah, like I know it counted. I know everything's good. And it's done before the day of, so I don't have to worry about something coming up or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and hint for people who hate having other people knock on their door all the time, the sooner that ballot gets returned, whether it's an absentee ballot to a drop box or your clerk's office, or you vote in early voting, the second that I voted thing starts appearing for all the candidates that are out there, they magically disappear from your door.
Right.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Yes. And you have to make sure that you turn the ballot over to get the nonpartisan. You have judges from the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. You have appeals court. You have circuit court. We need all these people plus your school board members.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, people have a habit of. Yep. I was just going to say people have a habit of doing downvote ballot and then not turning it over and missing half of the election and then wondering why these people didn't get in or who are these people that got in and. Yeah, it becomes a mess.
And,
right?
And those are just as important. We need to make sure that we get everybody elected. And if you only like 3 candidates and you have 4 seats, you don't have to do the 4th person or the 3rd person. You can go with 2 if those are what you feel strong about. So you don't have to flip to the other side. You can stay in your own party or your own lane and vote that way. Or if you vote straight party ticket, you can go over to the other side and vote for that race if you believe in that candidate.
So for example, say you wanted to vote straight party on one, you voted straight party for one party, right? And then say for, dog catcher, you wanted to go to a different party, right? Mm-hmm. You could fill in that one bubble and it would override only that race.
Oh, so you're saying that somebody can fill in the top portion for the down ballot cast and still somewhere later on the form do one on the opposite party and still have the whole of the other side get elected?
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, that's very nice to know.
Exactly.
And I just got to say, I love that the dog catcher thing came up because I was thinking it earlier, but I wasn't going to talk about it. Total sidebar. I played a dog catcher in Annie, so every time I hear about people voting for dog catcher, I'm like, yes, vote for your dog catchers.
Yes, yes.
Little orphan Annie needs you. Thank you.
So, Jonathan, tell us about the first time you voted.
I will tell you about the first time I didn't vote because I was so mad. So my birthday is August 15th. And in 2016, it was Trump versus Clinton. And I was so excited to vote because I'm like, I am 18 and I can vote for the first time. I was just over the moon. I was working the election. It was I was in Manistee County at the time, and I didn't quite look at the math of that one. It wasn't working out too quick for me, and so we get to closer to election day, and then I realize election day is like August 4th or August 2nd or whatever. I'm not going to be 18 for 2 weeks in this primary. So I didn't get to vote in the primary. I was so upset. And I was like, there's got to be something we can do. This is discrimination against people who will be 18 literally the next day after the primary. Looking back on it now, I'm like, there needs to be a cutoff. We have pre-registration. Fun fact, pre-registration of 16 and 17-year-olds now. But you do need to be 18 to vote. I get that now. But then I was able to vote in that general election. It was a ton of fun. It was a very small precinct. We're talking like 400 registered voters, if that. And it was hilarious because it was all the little old ladies from the community. And so they were all like, you will work on the e-poll book because none of us know what it is.
None of us want to deal with that.
And for anyone listening, the e-poll book is basically just the list of registered voters within the precinct. And it says this person received an absentee ballot or this person has not voted yet. This was before early voting days. Most elections were before early voting days now. So they stuck me on the e-poll book, and I'm just like, this is my first election. I don't know what this is either.
No pressure.
But I can click the buttons on a computer. And you have a lot of time. So in Michigan, you are basically highly encouraged to have some form of photo ID, whether that's like a military ID, a passport, driver's license is most common. But if you flip over your ballot application that you fill out, if you don't have the ID, you can attest to that you swear you are who you say you are, essentially.
Right. And you can bring a utility bill as well for when you're actually, I think, in the clerk's office. That is
well,
the time
yeah.
that you want to do
Now we
that.
have same-day registration
Yes.
too, and you will get this massive pink slip, effectively, that it's for the poll workers to know that you're good, and then you get to input the person, which is interesting. But the nice thing about when you bring your driver's license to the poll is then we get to swipe it and it just like automatically loads the voter.
Yes.
So when
much easier.
it saves so much time because the downside with these card readers is just like all technology, they never work. So
Especially when there's a huge line behind you.
A huge line, when it's just one person, of course it's going to work. When there's a million people all trying to vote really quick while they're on their lunch break, it's like that's when the card reader just refuses to acknowledge anything, and it's so difficult. But then, of course, going back to that election day, the election got over, and we had this weird rule. I think they were punking the young kid who was new to the whole voting thing, because they hand you this piece of paper and it says at the end of the night, when you close the poll, you have to go outside verbatim and yell, "Hear ye, hear ye." The polls are now closed. And I look at them and I'm like,
You had to become the town crier.
Did you have to bring a bell too?
I don't remember if
You
there
didn't
was
have
a
to walk
bell
down the
requirement.
street hitting it.
Well, it was November. It was dark. It was 8 p.m. It was windy as heck. And I'm just like, you're kidding, right? And they're like, no, you have to go outside in this precinct, this entire township of 400 people, and yell this line. So I open the door to this polling location, and the wind just like grabs the door. It is crazy out there. I stand in front of the polling location sign. I'm literally screaming in the wind. I can hardly hear myself yelling this hear ye thing. And then right as I finish, it was so windy and I was trying to pack things up that the A-frame that indicated it was a polling location like snapped closed on my finger. And I'm like, these lovely poll workers that I'm working with just wanted me to grab the sign, didn't they? But
I think we need to get you like one of those like old school outfits for this.
Seriously, with the bell and everything. I actually have the bell now. My great cousin, twice removed, her mother or grandmother was a school teacher, one-room schoolhouse, so I have the bell from that schoolhouse, but the good old-fashioned thing. But yeah.
So if you hear Jonathan on a website, hear ye, you'll know what it is.
The polls are closed.
I'd like to say we updated that rule since then. I'm also pretty convinced that wasn't even the rule at the time.
They were just hazing you.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to cut your teeth somewhere.
Yeah. The old people got them. They picked it well.
Hey, they got to have fun somehow.
Got a good sense of humor.
Yes.
But what was your first election, Robin?
I had a teacher named Miss Kent who had every candidate, Democrat and Republican, come to the school and talk to us. So when I got to the poll, Mrs. Kent was there, and it's like, okay, Mrs. Kent, I got my ballot, and I went back, and I went, what was the guy's name that... She goes, I can't talk to you about that right now. The one with the beard, he was a Republican. I think he changed. I can't talk to you about Claude Trim. I was like, are you sure? Was that his name? I'm not sure. I don't see his name. She goes, just go over there. She goes, let's pull your thing. She goes, you need to do some more research before you come next time. I was like, sorry. And the worst part was because she was our teacher and she worked the poll too, I got in trouble when I went back to school. So
You gotta do your homework.
and every time I would go to vote, Mrs. Kent always worked my precinct. I was in precinct 1 from the very beginning. She lived down the street from me, and until she died, she was still in precinct 1. And she always wanted to make sure that everybody, when I would go to vote, she'd say, is Rudy coming? I would say yes. How about Elizabeth and Alex? Are they coming? She wanted me, and she knew everybody who voted in her community. She cared about people. But Mrs. Kent had this long red hair with this red lipstick and loved history and loved democracy. So she made sure everybody came out and had a voice. So, Elizabeth, it's your turn. Tell us.
So, I had actually heard all these crazy stories about Miss Kent that my mom was talking about. And not just with elections. So, I have no idea how this worked. I guess this was a thing back in the day. My dad would go to school, and she would actually give him her keys to go get stuff during school. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? This is not a thing, right? And I guess this was a thing back in the day. So at some point, I'm like, okay, this person does not exist. This is just some like made up tall story. The first time I go to vote, I see Miss Kent, and she has the lipstick and the red hair. I'm like, oh my God, she's real. This is a real person. And it was pretty uneventful in terms of voting, but that is what I most remember because it was just in this little church/school that kept changing. I walked from my house over there, and it was funny because it was like a community, and it was nice though because it didn't matter who you were voting for. People were just glad that you were out voting. So that was really nice.
As it should be.
Well,
Right?
that voting really just makes the democracy stronger. Like I tell everyone, who you're voting for is your business.
Mm-hmm.
I have my thoughts, you have your thoughts. But
Yeah.
especially as someone who's running to be clerk, my thing is, I want you to understand the process. Because it's very different. Like I was even saying earlier, we didn't used to have early voting. We didn't used to have universal, no excuse absentee voting. It's just a different way of going about it now. Pre-registration of 16 and 17-year-olds. Like we can go on and on and on. And there's even more bills in Lansing, wonderful bills, I might add. I like quite a few of them, that just change the way we vote or are able to vote, like
Right.
languages and what have you. And so we need to make sure that we're just keeping everyone up to date on all the different ways they can vote, because it really just
Yes.
increases the ability of everyone to be able to have that voice heard.
And democracy works best when everybody has a hand on the wheel.
100%.
Exactly. Well, so I don't know if anybody went to, did you go to Waterford schools?
I didn't. I went to South Lake and St. Clair
South Lake?
Shores.
Okay. So in Waterford, we had Mr. Rivetto. He was my government teacher.
Okay.
And I was actually a year ahead in government. So I was the only person my age, and I just kind of went along with it. I knew most of the people anyway, right? Because Waterford, even though it's a pretty large area, it feels small enough because you know people and that. I remember actually he had me register to vote, and everybody in our class registered to vote in Mr. Rivetto's class. And then when it was our birthday, he would take it into the clerk's office every year. And I thought that was so cool. It
That
was
is
like
awesome.
the registration.
I love it. That is
Yeah.
something I want to see.
I would love all teachers to do that. That'd be
Right?
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get, when you first turn 18, you don't really start thinking about voting right away. It's not your first thing on your
Yeah.
mind.
It was one of my first thoughts, but that's just me.
Yeah, voting didn't cross my mind until like 23. I was busy doing other things.
But in Rivetto also, when you graduated, it was funny because he was Republican, and I never knew if he was a Republican or a Democrat because he would have the kids debate on what they felt government should be about. But he would always give everybody a Thomas Jefferson bobblehead, and he would talk about education.
I think there were different ones. I think
Yes.
Alex and I just happened to get the same one.
Yeah, but everybody had something different.
This is our
And-
guest star, Teddy.
Yes,
by the
this
way.
this is Teddy the Bear. He is not registered to vote. He wants to be, but not yet.
Ooh, he's trying to eat the microphone.
So, down big boy.
But you know, one of the things I also love that Mr. Rivetto did, like the very first day in class, you know how you go into some of those classes and your teacher's like, okay, maybe for math, they're like, okay, do these problems. I want to see where you stand. Our first quiz in his class was, okay, name all of your senators. Or name your senator, name your House of Rep, like going all through the different levels, because it was make sure that you know who all these people are. And most people didn't know. But that was okay because this was a great way to go, oh, maybe I should learn more about this. And that's really important, right? Because regardless of which side of the ballot you fall on, it's okay to vote on both sides of the ballot. Vote for who you think is the best candidate.
Vote for the best person for the job. It doesn't matter if it's a
Yes.
Republican or a Democrat or an independent or an alien from Mars. If they are the best person for the job and they are going to lead the community in the right direction and make everybody's lives better, that is who you should vote for. We need to get rid of this team mentality. This is not sports. You don't root to the death for your team. You root to the death for the person that is going to make everybody's lives better, no matter where they are. And that is where we mess up a lot, I think. When we do team, I'm obviously running as a Democrat, as we all are, but I'm not going to tell...
Nonpartisan.
not-
Oh, I'm sorry. Nonpartisan.
Your straight party
Right.
ticket vote won't count for me, so please vote
Yes, please flip over. But I'm not
corner.
going to recommend that everybody vote down ticket Democrat, because everybody should know what you're about, know what you're about, know what you're about, know what I'm about, and know what everybody else on the Democrat side is about, as far as the Republicans too. And I think when you do that, you'll start to see that party lines don't matter as much as people's personality and what actions they take. Like I'm very fond of saying, words are who you want to be, actions are who you are. And if you start looking at people by their actions and not what they're saying to you, you'll start to get the real picture of who you're voting for.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes, I think that makes a big difference because people look at one side or the other. In a local race, I can't change what the state legislators do. I won't be able to have a lot of influence on my federal reps other than writing letters like everybody else.
Yes.
But if you know your community, a D or an R shouldn't have a lot of bearing on that piece.
No.
It should be about the people that want to make positive change and how they're going to do it. Because like the clerk's office, making sure everybody has the opportunity to vote is essential. Because if we're a community, it's about making sure everybody has that right. Not complaining about how much something costs. Because in my world, I believe voting is priceless.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like love and family, priceless. My vote is priceless. I may not have get the end result that I want, but I know that I did everything in my power to exercise my voice.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I steal this line from one of Waterford's state senators, Jeremy Moss. He's the chair of the Elections and Ethics Committee in the Michigan Senate. And one of his statements, paraphrasing, is your right to vote protects and like unlocks all of your other rights.
Right.
Because you get to pick, if you don't like the way the school is like going about what it's doing, you can vote for a new school board. You can vote for new state legislators and state reps, state senators, new governor who have oversight over that. There's federal education individuals, so president and the Senate and all that. But the right to vote fundamentally, it allows you to have that influence over everything else around you.
Yes.
It's just, I love it so much.
Your vote is the most precious thing you own. Your voice and your vote, those are the currency of change.
Yeah.
We're so lucky to have him in precincts 4, 5, and 10. I wish I lived in 4, 5, or 10.
It was so funny the other day because I was going through my mailbox as everyone does, and I got one of his mailers for the first time, and I'm like, I'm on the mail list. I love it, and it was all voting
It's like
information.
the opposite most people's reaction.
Yes, as the person who makes a lot of these mailers for Rep. Brenda Carter, I'm like, I know most people are like, oh, okay, that's nice, and then they recycle it. But I'm like, no, I have it. It's going up on the fridge. I don't have kids yet, so that's what I pin up on the fridge when I get it in the mail. I love it.
Yes.
That and my Menards rebate cards.
Oh, okay.
I love those.
Okay. Joe, you haven't told us about your first time.
Oh, so I guess my first story of voting is going to be more about not voting too. So when I first moved up here, I moved back to Waterford. For a lot of people who don't know, my ancestor is Oliver Williams, and we founded Waterford in 1835. But my grandfather actually moved the family out of here in the early 60s because he had just started working at GM. So we moved to St. Clair Shores so he could be a little closer. And so I moved back out here right after I graduated and came back to the hometown. And we used to be very heavily involved with a haunted house out here. It was called Realm of Darkness. It was in Pontiac. Has anybody ever been?
Mm-hmm. That sounds familiar.
Not Erebus, but the other major
It was
one.
before.
Yep,
It was before Erebus.
Yep, we were first. We were rated by Disney. Thank you very much. But we were working down in Niles, Michigan, right on the border of Ohio. And it was getting close to the time where everybody needed to go and vote. And we were so far behind because these attractions cost millions of dollars. If you go into a haunted house and they have animatronics and they are longer than like a single hallway,
it isn't cheap.
They're putting millions of dollars in there. So please be appreciative. Because you work on these all year round, because if you're changing anything, it takes so much time. You have to go to these conventions and everything. But anyways, so we were all getting like packed up and ready to vote, and we get to the polling place down in Niles, and it is forever fucking long. It is like down the parking lot. So we just look at each other and we're like, okay, who's voting Democrat? And like 5 of us raise our hands. And then we go, who's voting Republican? And another 5 raise their hands. I'm like, that's it. We're all washed. It's 5 and 5. Let's go back to work.
I would disagree with you.
Mind you, I was 23.
Well, that just goes back to why we have early voting now.
Yes.
We have no excuse absentee voting.
Yes.
Because all 10 of those votes were very, very important.
Absolutely.
For the nonpartisan sections also.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Just 5, 10 people can affect a whole
Yeah.
count. But yeah. But I was young, and I didn't fully grasp the implications of
Right.
the voting and everything like that. And yeah, so we went and got food, and we went back to work, and we worked until like 5 a.m. and got a couple hours of sleep and got back up and hauled right back in.
Did it again the next day. But there's also millages, ballot proposals on the ballot. Not anything from the state this year, though. Although it's a lot of those state ballot proposals that gave us early voting. And
Yeah, 2022.
yeah, it was a wonderful
So this
year.
is basically brand new. I mean, we've had a couple elections this year, but this is the first year. So it's a big deal.
Yep. We have
Yeah, yes, it
OCC
is.
and we have the police and fire millage. 8 mills for the police, and I think it's 36 mills for the OCC.
What are your guys' feelings of OCC? What do you want to happen?
I hope it passes, but I hope it doesn't cost the seniors a lot. I think it's going to be about very positive as long as we spend the money correctly.
And how much do you think it's going to cost new people coming in when they buy their homes?
That one I don't know. It depends on the rate. I was talking to Allison yesterday at the Rock and Roll.
She's the Parks and Rec director.
Yes, and she said the largest she saw was $115. But I was told
year?
it was yes, but I was told it was 82 cents per thousand, which would be, if you have 100,000, that would be $82 if your house is valued at 200,000. I don't know how many houses today with fair market value are rated at 200,000 to be able to buy, because you may
Right.
buy it for 200,000, but it might be rated at 150. So it might be 115. She said somebody on the lake was $115 a year. So we need to see how that pans out. She's going to be at the senior center on October 15th, where they have the Meet the Candidate, to have everybody bring their address so that they can see firsthand how much that's going to cost. And then they get to
Yes.
meet all the candidates, Democrats and Republicans, at the senior center to know who really made a difference for our seniors, and to talk to the candidates when we're out there.
And I just want you to repeat that just for everybody at home. Where are they going to be, and what time, and all the steps to come in so they can know exactly how much they're going to pay?
That Allison is going to have a computer so that they can bring their tax log to show them what their address is, and it will show them how much it would cost them for this millage this coming. The millage isn't supposed to start until 2025, because it will not go in effect right away, because it has to have, they paid 2.8 for it. They should be getting that back. But the millage, as they're paying it out for tearing down 2 buildings, paying for the demo on that, the HVAC for everything, that's where the majority of the money is for the HVAC systems, and tearing down part of the parking lots and things like that. But that's going to be October 15th from 1 to 3, and it's going to also be the Meet the Candidates at the Leggett campus of the Senior Center here in Waterford. And everybody is welcomed.
And what is the plan that they want to do right now with the building? What is the proposal for OCC?
Right now, the way I understand it, because things change, they're going to keep 2 of the buildings. 2 of the buildings are going to be demoed. And then they're going to be changing. Right now, they have steam, and they have a central water and sewer. They need to hook each building into water and sewer, and then remove the steam and go to natural gas. We've asked them about solar and geothermal. I don't know how much that's going to cost, but they have a lot of land for geothermal that would be very effective.
Well, and it sounded like they wanted to tear down 2 of the buildings, right?
Yes.
So there's only 1 building that they wanted to keep. And my understanding is that the idea is to buy the 3 buildings, so it's not the entirety
Of the whole
what
campus.
OCC was. It's a portion of.
Yeah, it's only maybe
About a third. Yeah.
And what did they plan to do after they demolish the buildings?
Maybe put parking lot. I'm not really sure.
No, that doesn't sound like the best use.
Well, first things first.
Yeah.
It has to pass in November.
Yeah.
And then whoever the board is at that point in time will have most direct influence
Right.
over how the new dollars that are coming from Waterford residents are going to be spent. I certainly hope it passes. I have heard from residents who have concerns. So the nice thing about the Leggett campus is it's very central in
Right.
Waterford. Makes it really easy for Meals on Wheels, delivering meals to seniors across the township.
Yeah.
It makes it easy to get to all those houses. It's great for seniors who are coming to the campus because they don't have to travel as far. Some of these seniors have mobility issues, so traveling long distances can be very difficult for them. So I've heard from seniors who have concerns about just the physical location of the campus, but also residents who live along it. They know how popular our senior center is. Our senior center is amazing.
It's hopping
Yes, it
for a
is.
senior center.
It's a real poppin' senior center they got there. Everyone loves it.
Well, we
but
went yesterday to the
walk and
Walk and
roll.
roll.
and the place was filled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
In and out.
But with that means a lot of people, which means a lot of wear and tear on the road around
Yes.
the OCC campus, more cars there for traffic. So some of the local residents that live right by the campus do have concerns about how traffic is going to flow too.
And that's valid.
What do you think?
I'm probably going to be in the minority here, but I would like the bond proposal to fail. As far as my understanding is, the buildings are still usable. There's no reason to demolish them. There's no reason to add more money if we don't need to. We have a very poor, I believe, Civic Center in Waterford. Not where everybody can go. We don't have like ice skating. We don't have giant fields except for the one that we have in right by the Township Hall. I think it would be greatly used for runaway shelters for women and children that are in need. I think we could do a lot of programs for like autistic kids in the summer and daycares for single mothers so they can go earn some money and still be able to support their family and not have to take every single penny they earn and pay for food and childcare and their car and the rent and then have nothing left over to save. That's not the American dream. I think that we could get all of the voices of Waterford together and come up with a badass system to help everybody, no matter where they are, as far as being younger, teenager, middle-aged, senior, high income, low income, white, black, yellow, orange, green, red. It should be a place where we can all go to when we're feeling down and have the community lift us up. Right now, I think we have a huge loneliness problem in America where everybody is so tormented on the inside that it just seeps out into everyday life. I think once people can be seen and heard and feel like they actually matter in the community, I think the temperament of the community would go down. Right now, we are at a state where nobody wants to listen to anybody on the other side. And the second you see red or blue, you shut down, and that is it. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to know you. I don't want you in my community. And that is not sustainable. That is leading to civil war really quickly.
It's sounding like, to me, though, you still want the campus to be owned by the township,
Yes.
just not necessarily used for like the community center, senior center.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could still have a senior center in there too. There's more than enough room with all of these buildings in that. I
don't
personally
want them
graduated
turned
from.
down.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want them. I don't want. There's so much value in there. Why
Oh,
waste money?
100%. That's
We have.
Absolutely.
I'm big. If you looking outside right now, there's no sidewalk. So why waste all that money there when we can put something where our handicapped citizens can actually walk down the street and get to the store?
I think we're agreeing on more than we're disagreeing, because I would love to see in those buildings almost like a civic service center for our state, federal, county elected officials. Wouldn't it be great if our future senator, whether it's Mike Rogers or Alyssa Slotkin, had just even one or two staffers there a couple days a week where we could go in, say, hey, I'm having this problem with the IRS, for example, or Haley Stevens has staff there, or maybe Damiana in my office works there a couple days a week. Maybe I'll be there. I don't know. But wouldn't that be great if we had something right in Waterford where the state, federal, county, certainly I would love for the Waterford Clerk's Office to maybe have a satellite office there. all had the opportunity to have something there. And that way, if you have
Right.
if you have a problem that maybe involves multiple levels of government, you just, instead of, another call
getting
chain
pushed around.
there, yeah.
Right.
It's like,
One-stop shopping.
yeah, actually, they're right next door. Go say hi. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, and if you need to have a meeting, you can just walk out of your
So
two
why
little
don't
meetings
you
real
two
quick,
come together?
talk together, and get your stuff cleared. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and just having resources for people, I think that's a huge thing today, right? Because unfortunately, we're still going through some of this mental health crisis, right? We don't have enough mental health resources. So just knowing where you can go for that stuff. And you had actually talked about maybe using one of those buildings for mental health specifically. But also, I mean, just resources in general. There are so many things that people need that, we don't think about every day. Some of us might take for granted, but being able to go to that one place and say, okay, how do I figure this out? What are the steps? That's huge.
And here's the other part of it too, is the current price of OCC that it is a gift from
Yes.
them.
Yes.
For 2.8, yes.
Yeah.
We could never build the same infrastructure that they have on the amount of acreage. I want to say it's 54 acres.
Probably not even
that we're
one
looking
building.
to buy. Yeah, there's no way we could do it for that price.
Right.
So it really is them saying, look, we want Waterford to have this so that you can
Yeah.
use it for whatever you think is best. And that's something that I'm always keeping at the back of my mind.
So one of the things I do think people are struggling with, though, is they're a little worried because we just had the last millage in the primary. There will be the community center and then also Oakland County Parks, right? But I think, am I remembering right? Oakland County Parks isn't increasing all that much, right?
No, it's not.
It's just a small amount of
It's
difference.
a renewal in that, and it's just a restore. And it's something that touches all of us because there is 5.5 acres there that you can use with OCC. Oakland County might be able to come in and buy the rest of that
That would be an amazing part.
and work together. That millage
Yeah.
would make a difference. It would keep it natural. They may have commercial in the beginning, but that has to be done by the zoning board of Waterford Township because it was a hospital before.
Right.
It was a school now. It resorts to back to where it was to begin with. And we keep hearing that it's going to be commercial in the front. That can only be done if the Township Planning Commission allows that. And with Coolidge, Coolidge Street is being or Cooley Lake is so busy, that might be another hindrance to the people because at least with OCC they can come off a hospital.
Right.
So it's not going to be Cooley Lake as much. So that's why having good people in leadership, your planning board being very, very knowledgeable what we need and how we need to grow it and how to bring young families in, because if OCC is utilized with OCC or Oakland County Parks and with the township, imagine what we could have there for young families.
That would be great.
Because Chris Ward works very hard. Our Oakland County Board, Dave Coulter, Lisa Brown, Wittenberg, they all care about what this community brings in. We were just at Hess Hathaway yesterday. That
that was
backs
amazing.
in
Yeah.
to that OCC property.
Wouldn't it be
Right.
lovely if those two could be connected?
Yes.
That would
well,
be
having
so
a trail,
wonderful.
having the nature walk, having different things preserved. See, Teddy says, I want to go for a walk there. I liked myself there. But having even a dog park, because right now the only dog park we have in Waterford is at the state park over here off of Pontiac Lake Road.
Yeah.
And
And you have to pay to get in.
right, and we have so many people who have pets. And that's why OCC Parks and Recs is important to vote yes on that. That's on the county initiative.
Right.
And the OCC piece and the police and fire. We were promised by our board now that we would not have an increase, but It's there, and we need to see how the money's being utilized. Our fire department is phenomenal. I
Yeah.
can't. Chief Nye cares about this community. Chief Underwood is moving forward. Every police officer I've encountered has been great to me and makes a difference.
Well, and you might not know, also with our fire department, hopefully most of you haven't had to use this, but if you ever have an emergency, they're actually cross-trained. I don't know if it's the entire department, but they will come out and do the paramedic type stuff. And what is very cool is if you're a resident of Waterford, you don't have to pay for the ambulance ride, because if you have ever seen the
kidding.
ambulance bill, they are insane.
Really?
Oh,
Let's talk about that for a second. What? Explain how that works. So
That's
do you
part of
call
your
do you call
millage.
the do you call the fire department first and then tell them that you need an ambulance, or do you call 911?
You call 911.
And
We'll
then
send it there.
dispatch.
Okay.
is their thing.
So anybody right now inside of Waterford that takes an ambulance ride does not have to pay for it?
No.
Waterford residents.
Waterford residents.
Yeah. I don't know how that works
did that
if you're
start?
not a resident.
I think
probably
that
more
it's been a few
complicated,
years. It's been a few years. I think it was
Yeah.
when we became a regent. I'm not for sure on the year. But Chief, I think it was Stores started that a long time ago.
I think so.
And then we have Chief Covey. We've had a few chiefs in between, but our fire department and our chiefs have been. Our fire department is somebody that I think of as like your close friend that takes care of you. We had them here when my husband's sugar dropped, and he was talking
was
very
really scary.
slow.
It is scary.
And they gave him something to take at first. It didn't work. They gave him a shot. They made sure his sugar was at the level it needed to be. We didn't have to take him to the hospital, but they made sure he was okay. My next door neighbor, when she was not feeling well, they came and got her, and she said, I want to stay home. And Elizabeth said, they need to take you. The
was so
firemen
hard.
they stayed with her at the hospital until they got their next call.
Aw.
They were really
And
great.
because she was a widower, they just wanted to make a difference to have somebody with her.
That's
But-
amazing.
Yeah.
They also,
Thank you guys.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
And that's what we have in Waterford, our fire department. And I have not, maybe because I'm lucky enough not to get in trouble, our police department has always been there. If I needed help with something, we had a young girl that was with me doing door to door, and somebody was very hostile towards her. The police department came on and said, do you need any help? Do you want us to make a difference? Do you want us to fill out a report? She said no. They cared about her, wanted to make sure she was safe, made sure I was safe. That's what your community is. That's what your first responders are.
They handled the situation really well, which, in an intense situation like that, it can go well or not so well. So they did a very good job at that. But I also want to take a step back so I don't forget. Fire department, not just emergency services. You can also go for CPR, first aid training, all of those things.
And where do you sign up for that at?
Fire department.
Just call the fire department. Don't call 911. Obviously, don't do
Don't
that.
call 911.
Can you go online and sign up through there, or do you have to call them? Is it
I'm not sure.
okay?
I
They may
would-
have the Red Cross come in and do it for you.
Well, no, actually, the firefighters do it. It may have changed recently, but whenever I've gone, it's always the firefighters that teach you.
Yes. And
So,
there's
pretty
different
cool.
ways of between a baby, and you may think this is silly, but even a dog can have CPR.
Yep.
And humans, adults, you have to
Yeah.
treat everybody as different sizes differently.
And the CPR training has changed over time.
Yep. The song always changes.
Yeah.
Yes. So staying alive is still there.
Okay, I probably shouldn't say that. They're probably going to be like, oh, we can't
Yes.
play this now. Whatever
But even
channel.
an AED, because AED machines do save lives.
Right. And that's a huge thing, because that is part of what the millage, I believe, went for initially too, right? It went for supplies like AEDs.
Now, when you go take the class, do you actually get your certification, or they just teach you the basics?
They will actually do the certification.
Oh, really?
So there's different levels that you can sign up for. So in different classes, like they don't do the last time I went, it's been a minute, They didn't do them both together.
Okay.
But
You have
had
first
to do
aid
them
and CPR.
individually, but they used to do them on the same day, so you could
One
do
after the
both
other.
together if you wanted. And actually, there used to be a lot of new parents who would come out because they did do the baby first aid and baby CPR.
I love
So-
that.
So we have a
Yeah.
lot of attributes in Waterford that a lot of people don't always know about.
Yeah, I think we should make a list maybe of everything that's least known about Waterford benefits and get that out there for everybody,
Right?
Tax dollars pay for a lot.
right?
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Better utilize it.
I think a lot of people just don't know how many things we really have that those taxpayer dollars get used for.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it can make a difference. I mean, so many people in Waterford know Charlie Bergen or have heard of Charlie's Barbershop on Airport Road, right? He passed away a couple years ago, but he was one of those guys who, after he retired, he had his regular routine. He would go swimming every day. And actually, one of the lifeguards, one day he had, I don't know if it was a heart attack or cardiac arrest.
He had a distress situation.
Something with his heart didn't work quite right, and they actually pulled him out of the pool and did CPR, and it saved his life. So you don't know when it's going to come in handy, because we don't plan for emergencies. They happen. So it's some pretty cool things. So yes, shout out. Make
Excellent.
sure you do that if you're interested.
So, but I think we hit everything so far on the ballot. What do you guys think?
We definitely hit all of it. The only one thing I would add, as I was looking at my ballot, fact check me on this one. The nonpartisan section for me started right at the corner on the front page. So don't go if you're a straight ticket voter, good for you, but don't just hit the straight ticket button and instantly flip it over because you might miss some of
Right.
that nonpartisan section.
Yes.
Well, and it's also going to kind of, as weird as this sounds to everybody, it's going to kind of depend on which precinct you're in too, right?
Absolutely. Every single precinct can be a little different, especially here in Waterford. We have 2 state representatives, 2 state senators. We have 3 county commissioners. The state senate's not up right now, but we have 3 county commissioners.
Plenty of seats.
There's a lot of different lines that run through Waterford Township.
Yeah, there are.
We got the weird breakup.
we were having a little fun when we were drawing some lines in Waterford Township, I guess.
Yeah, they colored outside the lines.
I don't
to
get
go
it.
around all those lakes.
Yes.
Well, it's so funny for me because I look at like the state rep lines, for example, and Rep Brenda Carter has the Meyer on Highland, but
Okay.
Rep Mike Harris has Harley Davidson.
Yes.
Really?
It's
Oh my gosh.
Literally
it's
right across
so-
the street.
Right across the street. It's so bizarre. And then Fourth Tavern, again,
You
Rep
see.
Brenda Carter. Irish Tavern, Rep Mike Harris.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. They're next door to each other.
It's
Yeah.
so strange. It's like Rep Carter's district is kind of like a key where it has like, then it cuts out precinct 13 and then it goes back up along the border and gets off. It's so strange the way these lines were cut.
So the school district's actually kind of like that too.
Yeah, we have a couple of precincts that that are Clarkston schools.
Yeah. So
And West Bloomfield.
we have, actually Precinct 1 is not Waterford schools. They're in Clarkston schools. But then actually in Waterford, we also have, for Waterford schools, we have precincts in Lake Angeles, Independence, White Lake, and I'm missing
West Bloomfield.
West Bloomfield. Oh, yeah, because you just said that. Yeah, so it's a little weird. It's definitely a little weird.
all of that to say, just be very mindful of what your ballot looks like, who is on that ballot.
Yes.
You can preview your ballot, mi.gov/vote, if I'm not mistaken. Take a look at it. Just know the candidates, know the issues. So that
Research.
Well,
don't take anything at face value. Research everything they say, and that just makes you a more informed voter and really just makes the democracy stronger when you
Yes.
finally
Yes.
cast that
And
ballot.
if you can't find it, look for a website for them. Most of them just look up their name on Google and see what you can find about the persons.
Well, and you can even go to vote411.org, I believe it is. It's the League of Women Voters. So
Okay.
they'll show you your preview of your ballot, and then anybody who's filled out the information will show up there. And it generally asks you for your website, your social media handles, all that kind of stuff. Unfortunately, though, like I will say, when I filled mine out, I was like, okay, I have a couple social media things, but it's not all ready. So you may have to do a little Googling as well. But it's a good resource because it has everything on the ballot. And it's a neutral source.
And speaking of which, do you guys have any websites where they can go and look for your proposals or anything that you stand for? Johnathon?
Yeah, I have Facebook, which is Johnathon Wertheimer for Waterford Township Clerk. Instagram and TikTok. I love that TikTok page. I have a whole 2 or 3 videos up. But it is
That's on my Facebook page.
You know, I would have another video up on TikTok, but as an older Gen Z person or very young millennial, whichever side of the line I fall, I'm still learning the actual video posting on TikTok. It just never appeared. So one of my videos, it disappeared into the ether. But those handles
It's like that somewhere.
somewhere. It's just,
You'll find it 5 years later.
and it was like for 4th of July, so it wasn't like something that I could post when I realized it was gone 3 days later. I'm like, okay, well, not doing that now.
Happy 4th of July, Halloween.
Yes, exactly. But that is Wertheimer _4 clerk. And those would be, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Awesome. What about you, Robin?
VoteRobinMcGregor.com is my website, and I'm on Facebook, Robin McGregor for Trustee, and that's on Instagram also. And I am learning TikTok also. It's kind of interesting, but it's getting to be fun. But I'm trying for the younger people. I'm trying. Please, I'm trying to be as sincere as possible because that social media is not my platform. But I'm not afraid of trying something new. So please.
When she goes through the videos every once in a while.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing?
So, and for you, Elizabeth?
So my website is voteelizabethmcgregor.com, and you can link to all my socials from there.
Awesome. And mine is williamsforwaterford.com. You can check out all my proposed policies, find ways to donate, and help out with the campaign. And you can also find me on Joseph Williams on Facebook and TikTok. All right, guys. I think we've pretty much hit everything for our very first episode. I'm so proud of us.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we'll sign out. And if you guys at home have any topics you'd like us to discuss or anybody you'd like to see talk, please let us know. And otherwise, if you guys want to sign out?
Yeah, we will catch you next week, is all I would say. And just remember, get that absentee ballot. Go vote. Vote,
Yeah.
vote.
Vote.
Make sure
Thank you.
vote.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.
Z person or very young millennial, whichever side of the line I fall, I'm still learning the actual video posting on TikTok. It just never appeared. So one of my videos, it disappeared into the ether. But those handles
It's like that somewhere.
somewhere. It's just,
You'll find it 5 years later.
and it was like for 4th of July, so it wasn't like something that I could post when I realized it was gone 3 days later. I'm like, okay, well, not doing that now.
Happy 4th of July, Halloween.
Yes, exactly. But that is Wertheimer _4 clerk. And those would be, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Awesome. What about you, Robin?
VoteRobinMcGregor.com is my website, and I'm on Facebook, Robin McGregor for Trustee, and that's on Instagram also. And I am learning TikTok also. It's kind of interesting, but it's getting to be fun. But I'm trying for the younger people. I'm trying. Please, I'm trying to be as sincere as possible because that social media is not my platform. But I'm not afraid of trying something new. So please.
When she goes through the videos every once in a while.
Yes.
Like, what are you doing?
So, and for you, Elizabeth?
So my website is voteelizabethmcgregor.com, and you can link to all my socials from there.
Awesome. And mine is williamsforwaterford.com. You can check out all my proposed policies, find ways to donate, and help out with the campaign. And you can also find me on Joseph Williams on Facebook and TikTok. All right, guys. I think we've pretty much hit everything for our very first episode. I'm so proud of us.
Yes.
All right, so I guess we'll sign out. And if you guys at home have any topics you'd like us to discuss or anybody you'd like to see talk, please let us know. And otherwise, if you guys want to sign out?
Yeah, we will catch you next week, is all I would say. And just remember, get that absentee ballot. Go vote. Vote,
Yeah.
vote.
Vote.
Make sure
Thank you.
vote.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, everybody.